Hey, this is Ariel, and you're listening to the Cyber PR Music Podcast, Dispatches for the New Music Business. In this episode, I'm going to talk about something that I have been noticing for years, and that is clutter and clogging and how it can stop your creativity and your moving forward with your music career. I recently finished the KonMari Method, which is Marie Kondo's book, and it made a profound impact on me, and some incredible things have opened up since I completed it. And I wanted to share this because I've noticed with a lot of my clients and friends and colleagues that when we can clear things out, we can make space for the things that we really want to come into our lives. And so this episode is going to be what Marie Kondo can teach you about your music career. So the KonMari Method, in case you've been living under a rock and you're not familiar with who Marie Kondo is a fabulous woman from Japan. She has a Netflix show that premiered a couple of months ago at the top of 2019. She goes to people's homes and she helps take you through her method from her book. If you do it right, she promises it to be life-changing. I had been wanting to do something huge in my life for years and somehow was always too stopped to get it done. And I'll share about that in a later podcast. But I realized that by going through this method, I started putting those aspirations that I've had into motion. And at the end of the process, it's been a few months since I've done it, I looked back and I want to share some lessons. I've boiled them down and twisted them around a little bit so that they apply to musicians and people in the business. Here they are. Lesson number 1 I got from completing the KonMari Method is self-help is not self-help. I bought her book years ago, and sadly, it laid in the downloaded section of my Kindle, and I never got around to actually doing the work until I forced myself to go out and buy a physical book, which I then put on my nightstand, and I made myself read a few pages every single night. And that's when things started to click. I think it's so hard for us to commit to actually doing the work when there are so many things that are pulling us in the wrong direction. And I believe social media is a place where we often spend a lot of time, wasted time, going down the rabbit hole on Instagram, for example, where we're not actually working at our highest and best. I have clients that sign up to take a lab with me or do coaching, and they feel too busy and too overwhelmed to actually do the work. But once you commit to making self-help shelf-help, this will shift. The second lesson I learned is something that's not new, but it really stands out when I look at Marie Kondo. And that's branding with authenticity is key. Now, I know these words get thrown around a lot in the music business, and authenticity is key to social media. And if you're not authentic, people won't resonate with you. But if you think about what Marie Kondo has done, there have probably been hundreds of books and systems created around how to organize and declutter. And professional organizers have been gainfully employed for years. But Marie Kondo created a sensation, a craze. She's a total rock star in her lane. Why is that? I think it's because people resonate with real. What she does comes honestly. In her book, she talks about how she used to organize her room when she was a child, and she has dedicated her whole life to this art. In other words, it's 100% authentic, and she's real, and that's powerful. When it comes to branding, her method is called the KonMari Method. That's a play on her name, Marie Kondo, KonMari. And naming her system is brilliant. If you think about artists that focus on naming things like Lady Gaga naming her little monsters, or Clay Aiken with his Claymates, or the Grateful Dead Deadheads. These are not new concepts, but they're things that work really effectively. Lesson 3, dress the part. In her book, Marie says that as you're going through the process, and the first step is incredibly painful, it's about taking absolutely everything out of all of your closets and drawers and cabinets, the trunk of your car, anything wearable, and putting it all in one place. She recommends that you dress for the part, put on your nice outfit, and show up to do this job, which is totally antithetical to how you might want to dress to go through every object in your home. My inclination was to do it in comfy sweatpants and an old t-shirt. But the point here is, if you're looking your best, you'll have a different shift. So for those of us that work at home and spend a lot of time unshowered and just banging away at our computers, think about what it might feel like to get dressed up and change your point of view and your perspective, leave your house and do that same work, but do it out in public, dressed for the part. When you do something dressed for the part, a shift will occur. Lesson 4 is go through it all. So as I was saying, in the KonMari system, you have to take every single item of wearable clothing, everything from winter coats to underwear, and put them all in one place where you can see them. It's pretty startling when you see the giant mountain of stuff that you've accumulated. And as the book says, the person who just clears out one small closet or one drawer and expects massive change will never get it. And in fact, she says, if you do that, that drawer is just going to become messy again. The idea is you're supposed to get real with yourself about each item. You start with one. I started with a shirt that I love. And you pick it up and you ask yourself in your head, does this spark joy? And if the answer is no, you put it in a discard pile. And if the answer is yes, you keep it. And obviously later, organize it. So many artists I speak to have only really addressed one area of their music career. I ran a PR firm for 20 years. I know this. If your house isn't in order, if you don't understand all the different areas you should be focusing on, and then you just hire a publicist, you're going to be pretty disappointed with the results. That's akin to organizing the one drawer. So, of course, when you're planning your marketing or your music rollout strategy, you don't ask, does this spark joy? But you should get everything out in the open first and then ask yourself, is this a potential fan? Should I keep this strategy? Should I get rid of it, abandon it? Do I like this? Do I hate this? Is this even working? If you begin to think of all of that the way Marie Kondo thinks of items, it's a really interesting perspective to have. So start with the first and most obvious thing to put back into place that you like and makes sense in your career. And then methodically go through each thing one at a time. Lesson 5. You must intentionally create vacuums in your life. You've probably heard the term, the universe abhors a vacuum. The whole point of that is it means, from a manifestation standpoint, that whenever there's a void, the universe will seek to fill it in. This is because, according to the laws of physics, empty spaces are not natural. So by decluttering, by throwing things away, you're actually making room for something new to come in. And I've seen over and over again that that new thing is usually something much better. Think about that ex you broke up with back in the day who was horrible. Now are you with someone who makes you happier? It's like that. But until you can intentionally create that vacuum and make the universe help you get to that empty space, it's going to be really hard to get some clearance. The lies that you tell yourself could be stopping your vacuum from being created. If your socials are clogged with fake likes that you've paid a shady company for, or your streaming is not all authentic, you might need to unclog and go through each thing one at a time to give yourself room to really grow authentically. I know it feels good. You've got the numbers when you look at your Instagram account or your Facebook, but did you get real fans? I've heard so many artists lie to themselves about how they got to the numbers they arrived at, but then I can see that they're struggling in their careers. So this is something to think about, is that idea of creating voids. I recently worked with a client who has 3 million fans across all of his social channels, and he can't even sell 100 tickets in his hometown. I could see that ego-stroking numbers that he created were stopping him from actually doing the hard work. Lesson 6. Think of planning, strategy, and fan base building the way Marie Kondo thinks of mess. The reason why I was on pins and needles the whole time I was reading the book and while I was going through the method is I feel like that's exactly what I do with my artists. My team and I roto-rooter through everything we can and find everything online we can. And we put it all out on paper and spreadsheets. And then we put it all back together again. By building your fan base one real human at a time, like you begin to put your house back together, one item at a time, it's kind of the same method. Yeah, it's a total pain in the ass to touch every item one at a time. But in the end, each item is known to you and it's in the right place. What if you actually knew each fan where they were on socials, or if they were reading your newsletters or responding to your text? What would shift in your career? The final lesson is no one else can decide what sparks joy for you. What feels good in your closet or throughout your home is up to you, and only you can make those decisions. Organizing is not new and it's not sexy, and it takes a lot of work and a considerable amount of willpower to do it. But imagine if you do that and approach your music career in exactly the same method. It won't be fun and it won't be easy, and it's definitely not as sexy to put together, a Spotify strategy as it might be to play a gig. But I think in the long run, understanding the fan that you spent the time to look at, touch, and categorize could spark a heck of a lot of joy. And I know what I'm talking about is a little weird because I'm collapsing decluttering your house with decluttering your music career. But I urge you to consider it's really hard to get a music career going and keep it sustained, as we all know. But I think you should start by decluttering your house, because that void that you'll create could potentially create an amazing shift in your music career. So just like building a real career in music and working on the business side of the house will never feel as sexy as making the music, I think that understanding the hard work that you put into it and seeing the actual product that you create through the work is one of the most amazing feelings in the world. And I know it doesn't feel or sound as sexy as having a publicist or a record label doing stuff for you. But the truth is, these things rarely move the needle. No one on earth, not a PR team or a radio team or a record label or a publisher, really does the work. You do the work, and they shepherd it into the world. That's your job. Check out Marie Kondo. Declutter your home. Declutter your studio. And see what comes up for you in your career. Go out and do this, because the world needs your music. And if you're stuck in any area of your artist life, start with decluttering and see what opens up. If you're interested in focusing on a specific area you may be struggling with in your music career, I encourage you to join me and hundreds of other musicians in Cyber PR Labs. Labs are 3-part masterclasses that include videos and action sheets delivered on a private website. To build them, I called my most trusted colleagues in the industry and asked them to help me put together a targeted and useful curriculum. And each month I roll out a new lab. Some of the most popular labs include Supercharge Your PR, Release Music with Ease, Mobilize Your Fan Army, Booking Successful Shows and Tours, and How to Get Sponsored. To learn more, visit cyberprmusic.com, click on Services and Labs. And I'd love to see you in one of the courses. For more information and show notes, please visit us at cyberprmusic.com.